Beyond the legal implications, a former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, Mr. George Etomi, shares with Law Weekly some of the economic implications.
The Constitution guarantees every citizen a right to their property. So if you take measures which effectively expropriate these properties, then it could create a big problem. And I foresee a situation if they do not fine-tune their intentions, myriads of legal actions for people to protect their assets. The other thing is that, yes, the intention is perhaps to check money laundering and part of the war against corruption. But let's face it, the BVN is not the only means of identification. There is no law saying that if you do not have a BVN, you are not entitled to certain rights. You can say privileges. If you don't get a BVN, you don't get free education, you don't get certain things, but it cannot go to the heart of somebody's right to own property. That is when you look at it from the strict legal angle. Then if you look at the Foreign Exchange Act itself, Section 17.5, actually guarantees, especially Nigerians or anybody in the diaspora who is remitting monies, actually protects that money. It says the money is not liable to seizure or forfeiture. So what do you do with that? That is when you look at the strict legal thing. But then, apart from the strictness, you just look at the economic implications. We all agree that money laundering is bad, anti-corruption, nobody is supporting it. But you must look at the wider benefit and all that. We depend on a lot of diaspora remittances. When you begin to take actions like this, no warning, no enlightenment, no explanation, just one day overnight, you sneak into court, get an order, how are you going to convince people in diaspora? And we need their funds for our economic rebirth. How do you do that? How many stations, countries in the world, China, do they have BVN stations? What Nigerians who are there remitting, people who have kept money for so long, those who have money in banks have died and have instruments of inheritance. What happens? They get their money seized in between when you are trying to transfer that money to your beneficiary. It's not clear how they are going to do this, but it should never have been done this way. The Bankers Committee, I know they meet from time to time. I don't know if this is a product. They should have been consulted. Because what you're going to do is you can unwittingly encourage the underground market, because people are just going to go back to the good old send cash home. If it gets into a bank, it could get seized, because you're dealing with a largely illiterate society. I mean, I know the banking population in Nigeria is, for all we talk about, is probably in the neighborhood of 70, 80 million. Of which I think the last data we got, about 26 million have the BVN. Over 46 don't have it. You don't even know, you've not even done a research to know why it's not been done. So the assumption cannot be that they're all criminals, because that is what the implication is. And it's not right to brand your citizens. We suffer already a lot from image problem abroad. The government cannot unwittingly add to that problem. So my view is that from a legal standpoint, they must look at how they can deal with it. They don't really have the right to do that. But from an economic, social point of view, they must look at the wider implications. We need confidence in our markets. We cannot create the impression that your property can be confiscated without justification. If there are specific accounts you are targeting, then he who alleges proves. You can go for those accounts, show evidence to the court, and ask the court to forfeit those accounts to the federal government. It cannot be a blanket order.